Hello and welcome to another Reaconteur video, and in today's video I will be compiling some of the rarest builds in all of Deepwoken, the stories behind them, how they were obtained, and when they existed. Make sure to subscribe since only about 20% of the people watching right now are actually subscribed. And also I'm live on Twitch. I really don't feel like screaming because it is late at night, so that's the most of an advertisement you're gonna get. Go watch me on Twitch where I'm live as of posting this video. Now let's get straight into it. Alright, starting with the least and ending with the most insane and rare builds, let's start on the super old and honestly really not that rare at all at the time, which would be the highest HP build in Deepwoken history, which was the old 1400 HP builds back in old verse 1 of Deepwoken. Back then, before the stars system, the item equipment grades were normal, which would just be the item name, so it'd be like a assassin's cloak or hood or something like that, ascended, which would then be the ascended version, and then celestial at the top. But then they eventually simplified it and improved it with the stars system, as well as changing how stats scaled. Now the biggest problem with the old system was that while ascended was technically worse than celestial, not every in-game item rolled the same values, meaning that celestial wasn't always a direct upgrade to ascended on every piece of armor, and some armors could gain more health as ascended than as celestial, which was really weird. I believe earrings were one of the things that had this weird bug, so then you could have like 23 HP earrings, but then they would be ascended, but then you get like 19 HP celestial earrings. It was really weird, right? But the weirdest piece of armor was the old celestial demon mask with 53 health on it, and then there's of course the 23 HP earrings and the rest of the armor kits back then, which would all get duped into oblivion, resulting in the eventual changes made to nerf build health that they'd implement over time. It's also the reason why they started doing the stuff where like enchant like armor and all those armor pieces would soulbound, and they started putting like armor IDs on every piece of armor that you can't see them in game, but all of this stuff getting duped was a huge issue, which is why thousands and thousands of HP kits were in circulation with like 1,000 or more health, and they were pretty much all removed because, you know, it's really bad. All this stuff is also the reason why they reworked the Drowned enchant, because if you remember properly or you played back then a lot, then you would know that the Drowned enchant back then would basically take one stat and just boost the heck, because I'm not trying to curse too much, out of it. So you'd end up with like low stats and everything on like a regular pair of boots, but then it would boost the HP by like 40. So they made it so that way the Drowned enchant actually distributes all those points through the armor and not just focusing on one stat. And this is actually why, because people would get like 100 HP pieces of armor singularly with the Drowned enchant. Next up is going to be the old enchantable heroes blades. These literally only existed in game for like 3 weeks, and there weren't even that many of them because, well, the old enchants were super broken, and having one on a hero blade gave a super powerful edge to anyone lucky enough to get them. For those of you who don't know or didn't play back then when enchants were super rare, they used to have like a 0.1% chance to spawn per chest item, and then the heroes blades were only in one item pool, which was seasonal, so getting an enchanted heroes blade was so insane, especially considering the fact that all the enchants were crazy strong in verse 1. So imagine having like a hero blade with bloodthirsty, and now it does triple the damage, or having 6 times the regen with no life king. It was crazy. They were patched out though, and this isn't even going over the fact that the heroes blades at this time were the best weapon in the game, and they would scale super high and do a ton of damage. So the heroes blades were just absolutely broken back then, and it was crazy having enchants on them. So it's a good thing that these were removed. Honestly, nowadays I don't even think it would matter. I think if they brought back heroes blade enchants, it would not matter like 90% of the time with, well, how nerfed enchants are overall, but as well as the fact that they're really just, most of them aren't that great. Vampirism's the only enchant that'll really make a massive difference in any fight, and even then that massive difference is still gonna be like 2 HP that barely saved you from dying off an M1. You get the point. Next up, and starting with stuff that's actually rare, Tainted Sorrow builds. Tainted Sorrow is a very strange enchant. It makes it so on hit your crit is temporarily overridden, and it pulls people into you with an independent cooldown, so you actually can crit to pull, then crit again with it, I believe. If not, then it was changed for whatever reason. Hey guys, editing Reaconteur here. This enchant was changed for some reason. It no longer overrides your crit. It just has a chance to fling people up on M1. This thing sucks. It's so bad. It is so atrociously garbage. It's such a bad enchant. But yeah, that's what it does now. I don't know why they changed it. This is what it says in the wiki, but now it literally just has a chance to fling you on M1, so I don't know, man. This enchant's trash. Now, this enchant is very weird for a lot of reasons. First of all, it can only be obtained through a moderator's body bag or wishmasters who don't exist anymore. Then again, also black marketing, which is very strange because there's apparently a suspicious amount of tainted sorrows on the black market. Regardless, this enchant had its VFX and ability completely disabled since Deepwoken's early release. So if you had a weapon with tainted sorrow on it back then, the weapon would say tainted sorrow on the enchant. However, it wouldn't look like it and it wouldn't do anything. But then randomly sometime last year, the enchant got re-enabled and now people have it working again, which is very strange. Honestly, I have no idea why this enchant is like, you know, just not properly in the game though, because it's really not even that good. So I don't know why they're trying to like gatekeep it like that. And then, you know, there's also unstable, but the thing about unstable is that nobody has unstable. They won't even give it for like game breaking bugs and stuff, which is generally how people get lots of unobtainable stuff and still have it today. Next up is more of an honorable mention because you can't and couldn't have ever gotten this build unless you were Agamatsu. But next up is Agamatsu's 1 million fortitude build with a fuck ton of HP. So for reference, 5 HP is 10 fortitude, so I mean, well, so 2 fortitude stat gives you 1 HP point. So this build, you know, it has like a tiny bit over 500,000 health. Now, he actually got this before he became a developer through the devs who were just doing a funny little joke thing, but for some reason they let him keep it from the test server and he just kind of kept it and he just doesn't like fight with it or anything. It is funny though, and last I checked, he actually still has this build even though he doesn't really use it. Then there's the extra talent builds. Now, these were builds which were capable of getting extra talents without losing mantras because of a bug with the shrine that trades a mantra for a roll 2. Essentially, you would UI stack with the mantra equip, and then you do that as you were roll 2ing your mantras, and then you'd equip the mantra that you traded away at the same time. Now, this bug is pretty well known at this point because of Supa, which I think is funny that he's the one who reported it, because, you know, he's not the person that discovered it. Now, funny story, but this is the bug that Supa traded in with the devs to get an unban on his main account. However, he was only told about this bug by other people, and the reason why they didn't report it to the devs was because the devs kind of cheap them out. So for reference, the devs will usually, for like game breaking bugs and stuff that they find or that you find, you can report a game breaking bug, and then if you ever make a ticket and report a game breaking bug, ask the moderators to talk with Archmage. Do not just give it to them. Don't just give them the bug, because then they will brush you off. If you ever find a game breaking bug and you know how to replicate it, you should ask the mod, tell them what it's about, but don't show them proof, and then ask to speak with Archmage and make a deal with Archmage, because if you make a deal with Archmage, you can get cool stuff from these, right? Now, obviously, some people get custom names, some other people get, you know, custom enchant, well, not custom enchants, but the rare enchants, the unobtainable ones. People get free stuff from it all the time, right? Sometimes they even let people keep the builds, even though they're broken, which usually they would patch them out. No, lots of these people actually get to keep their builds. Now, the reason why this bug went unreported by the people who initially found it was because the guy who found it wanted a custom name, which was literally just one of the names in game, but you switched 2 letters. That's literally what the name was. You switched the last letter with the letter before it in the name. That was all he wanted, and they said no. So he was like, all right then, fuck you. Now, the builds that had the extra 20 talents to this day do still have them, but I think it's really funny that Supa actually traded in this bug for an unban, and then this guy couldn't get 2 letters switched in his name in Deepwoken. That's so stupid. And then we have this very strange double mutually exclusive talent build. So this build just has the tough love talent along with the narcissist talent. It's not nearly as flashy as a couple of the other entries, but it's just another little unobtainable set of talents that was obtained due to the talents being glitched and having their mutual exclusivity not work properly, which is also going to be the same as this one, which this build has Unyielding Frost with Crystallization Path, which is not possible to get. Of course, this build still has it, and it's actually super broken because it allows for Crystallization to proc through block, which means if you block against this build, then you kind of just get effed anyway. You know, I already said my second F word in this video, so, you know, I'm trying to keep it PG-13. Funny thing about the Crystallization Path Unyielding Frost build, but the guy that had it decided to just get rid of it. I don't know why. It was that, like, are you serious? You have this unobtainable build, you're like, let me just go get rid of that talent because I'm not supposed to have it. Why do you care about fairness? Why did you get rid of the build? It's so stupid. I don't know why this guy did that, but, you know, it's dumb. Now, then there's the double murmur builds. Now, some of these do still exist, although they're pretty rare, but these were builds without Soulbreaker that had both Tacit and Ardor on them. So the way you'd get them was by killing Kaido, or the Dread Serpent, after having the requirements for Tacit done, and you'd kill him you'd summon him and you'd bring him to Erysia. Then, while the Murmur Orb for Ardor was processing the oath or whatever, you'd race to get Tacit, and then if you got it before Ardor, you'd get both at the same time, allowing you to have both permanently. Now, for those of you wondering how this is possible, the Ardor Orb actually used to be way slower than it is today, which means if that's really all that they did to patch this, then hypothetically, you could still do it if you found a way to get Dread Serpent closer to the Tacit NPC. But yeah, they did patch it out, and they did make it way faster to get Ardor when you kill it, so yeah. Now, another rare but not that flashy, well, actually, it's just bad, are the old Restless Flaw builds. So the Restless Flaw is not in the game, but what it does do is it makes you heal less at campfires, and the only way you could get it was for using Shrine of Order during verse 1 for like a week when it first came out, maybe like 2 weeks. Now, they removed it because it sucked, but they also completely removed the flaw from any builds a few months ago when they did the UI overhaul update, which is so weird. Like, you guys have had this in the game for so long, you remove its obtainability, right? Doesn't really matter because nobody's getting it anymore, but then the people that purposely kept it for whatever reason to have rare builds and stuff, you guys remove it 2 years later. What, like, why? But yeah, you don't have this anymore. You can't have this anymore. If you had it initially, well, it got removed, which is kind of sad. Now, the next entry is actually a compilation of builds made with a recent bug. So essentially, you could transfer talents between slots by quickly switching between them after gaining a talent. And this resulted in builds like these. So lots of people were using these to transfer authority origin talents, which are all really good. Like this shock trooper with the backstabber stance in this build, which has Jetstream Pursuit and like the Blood Blood Puddles talent. But if you look at the stats of that same build, it literally doesn't have either of the requirements for those and never could have even with Shrine of Order. Now, this was patched a couple weeks ago, but some of the people still have these builds with the weird talents on them because they didn't get completely reverted, and the people that reported it were actually allowed to keep them. So that's funny. Now, second to last is two builds. Well, technically it's one build, but it's two of them exist, right? So there's only a couple of these I've ever seen, or so to my knowledge there's two of them, but these are Silent Heart builds that utilized a glitch to get attunement mantras with Silent Heart builds. Now, these ones and most other builds, which kind of crutch on being weird and buggy, were actually and surprisingly allowed to continue existing by the devs in exchange for the bug getting patched out. So a lot of these builds still exist to this day, including this one and our next entry, which is my favorite. And finally, I have the coolest build on this list, which I actually was able to get clips with, and I was actually given the chance to use. No, I didn't take that chance because I don't want to play Chime of Conflict. Anyway, this is the Lava Serpent Twisted Puppets build, and this is the only one in the entire game to my knowledge, which was able to get both Lava Serpent's path, which it had initially, but was also able to get the Twisted Puppets path when it was first added in, allowing him to have both because, similar to some other builds in this list, the mutually exclusive talent check for the attunement path didn't work properly when Twisted Puppets first came out. It'd be cool if it made the Lava Serpent stuff black, but it's a glitch, so why would they program that into the game? But yeah, this is still in the game, and it is a super cool build that would absolutely suck to fight against someone really good using it because it's so stupid. And funnily enough, but the Twisted Puppets ghosts on their own can also proc a flame eruption, which is super stupid and broken on its own. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. Shout out to you to members of tier 2 or higher: Green, Brick, Pickle, Goobka, High Card, Philip, Wizzy My Tizzy, Axelor, Flying Noodle 559, Simply Mo, Elstern, Fun Guns, and Drizzy Drake Fan. Did that all off the top of my head, by the way. I love you all. Song covered this week, I promise. Have an amazing day, and goodbye.